Hello apes, good morning. You just finished up your soil productivity quiz, and now we're going to move into the lab portion, the soil productivity lab, which you'll be working on for the next few days. So I'm up at a science conference, and I just want to give you an introduction to the quiz and some things, what to expect moving forward. So obviously today you're in homerooms, tomorrow you'll be in homerooms working on lab day 2. And then on Friday, you're actually going to be back in the library lecture hall. And then back here on Monday in homerooms to finish up the lab. So day 1 today, day 2 tomorrow, Friday in the library lecture hall, and then on Monday back in homerooms to finish up lab day 3. So like I said, you just finished up your soil quiz. You should be sitting with your groups. These packets were distributed to you. The person with their name highlighted is the team captain. So if anything goes awry during these next few days, I'll be hunting that guy down to figure out what the problem was. So we're going to be back here in the lab. Obviously, I'm not there. This lab doesn't have many dangerous components to it, but obviously use safety first. There should be 2 groups on each side of the lab benches. Okay, so there shouldn't be 4 groups working in close proximity to each other. There are a lot of supplies in this lab. It's an exploratory type of lab where you're going to explore soils, and you're going to go through 6 different activities in this 3-day lab. All right, so let me take you through those activities, show you where the supplies are, and where your stations will be. So this is the middle of the room, middle of the lab bench here, and this is where the supplies will remain. Now it's important that the supplies don't move from the middle lab bench. Now obviously you'll need to take some of the things back to your workstation, okay, and if you are finished working with, say, the soil test kit, you need to bring that soil test kit right back to the middle lab bench so other groups can use it. Like I said, there should be 2 groups on each side of the lab, 2 groups over here, 2 groups right here, 2 groups right here, and then 2 groups on the far side. There'll be 8 groups total. Give yourself enough room and space to work in so you're not interrupting each other's work. Now at the end of each lab day, you'll need to completely clean up your lab. Wipe it down if you need to. This can be a very, very messy lab if you're not careful, because there is sand that we're using, dirt, soil, we'll be planting things. So if you're not careful and you don't give yourself enough time to clean up, you can leave a messy lab, and that's where you'll lose personal points. So make sure that you are cleaning up. So with about 5 minutes left in class, you'll get a cleanup call. And when you get the cleanup call, you'll need to let some of your soil samples settle. And you're going to come over to the far side of the room here. This is the north side of Mr. Gore's room. And you can see that there is a settling area for each group. The captain's name is listed, and you're just going to put your soil samples right on top of the settling area. Make sure that your lab area is clean, and once that happens, when the bell rings, you can leave and come back in for the next day. So let's go over here, take a look at the pamphlet that was handed out. There'll be only one student guide per group. And Mr. Barrick, in this case, would be responsible for this group's pamphlet, so do not lose it. Now the background information is what went home with you, and that's what the quiz was on. So when you get to activity 1, you'll see water holding capacity and capillary action of soil. You can see lab day 1. So we're looking at activity 1, lab day 1. Your group should go through these first 12 steps and then stop. And once you're done with those 12 steps, you're going to need to let your soil settle over on the far side of the lab room. But day 1 is not finished. You'll move on to activity 2, qualitative analysis for ion exchange capacity. And you'll see here that we're still in lab day 1 even though we're on activity 2. So you're going to go through lab day 1, go through the procedure. You go through the procedure all the way through step 16, and activity 2 should be finished on day 1. Answer the questions as a group, Fill in data as a group. Go on to activity 3. You'll see that there are 4 steps in day 1. Make sure that you get what you can done for each one of these labs, all right, and filling in the laboratory questions as well as the data. Now this is activity 4. You can see that activity 4 starts on day 2. So today you don't need to worry about activity 4, just activities 1, 2, and 3. Same thing goes for activity 5. It starts on day 2. So tomorrow you will be working on those labs. Recognize this guy? I hope so. And then activity 6 will be done on day 3, which is when I will be back, and that'll be Monday. Okay, so what are you responsible for turning in as a group? You'll see we go through. Here's activity 1. Activity 1 ends on lab day 2, where as a group you'll answer these 4 questions. This page and this page from this activity should be copied. Each person in your group should have this copied. Cut this out, and this is going to be Soil Productivity Lab Activity 1. That will take up 2 pages in your homework journal. This will be the first page, cut out neatly, taped into your journal. The second page, cut out neatly and taped into your journal. And activity 2, you go through 1 through 16, all on day 1. Answer these questions, copy, cut it out, put it in your homework journal. Copy or fill it out, copy it, cut it out, and put it in your homework journal. So, Soil Productivity Lab, activity 2 should be 2 pages long. Then activity 3, you'll do first 4 steps on day 1, and then you'll finish up the lab on day 2. Now this one is going to take a little bit of time, so make sure right when you get in here tomorrow or on day 2 of the lab that you get right to work with the testing, the pH testing and the nitrate, phosphate, and potassium tests. Alright, you're going to answer these questions for activity 3. You're also going to fill in this information for activity 3. That will be 2 pages in your homework journal. Soil Productivity Lab, activity 3. Now activity 4, determination of soil permeability, all will be done on day 2. So tomorrow you'll be doing this entire lab, all 10 steps of it, answering the questions, and then filling in the table. So activity 4 is going to be 1 page in your homework journal. We'll cut this whole thing out. That's Soil Productivity Lab, activity 4. Activity 5, particle size distribution. Go through the procedures on day 2 and day 3. And then we're going to be answering these questions in the end, along with figuring out what type of soil you have according to the soil texture triangle. Activity 5 will be 1 page, 2 pages. Cut this soil texture triangle out and put it in your homework journal along with the table. That's 2 pages. And then lab day 3 will be, or activity 6 in lab day 3. I'll be back on Monday. Mr. Balb and I will explain that to you and what we expect for you to have in your homework journal. Okay, so we're looking at 2 pages for activity 1, 2 pages for activity 2, 2 pages for activity 3, I think it was, there's 2 pages for activity 3, and then just 1 page for activity 4. There it is. And 2 pages for activity 5. Guys, sorry it was bouncing around. I wanted to give you the important information, get you started on the right foot here. You got about a half hour remaining in class. See how far you can get through lab day 1 in this next half hour. Pick it up right from where you left off tomorrow. Make sure that you clean up, make sure that you're well behaved, and using all safety precautions in the lab. See you Monday.